In 1918, fear gripped New Orleans as a killer roamed free, committing horrific axe murders. The city, known for its vibrant culture and lively streets, was suddenly plunged into a state of terror. The Axeman, as he came to be known, struck fear into the hearts of residents, who felt unsafe even in their own homes. The killer's modus operandi was brutal and merciless, leaving a trail of blood and shattered lives in his wake. Residents were terrorized in their homes, living in fear of becoming the next victim. Families huddled together, peering out of their windows, hoping they wouldn't be the next target. The sense of dread was palpable, and once lively knowledge became most terrible. People whispered about the accident, sharing rumors and stories that only heightened the collective anxiety. The city that prided itself on its vibrant culture was shrouded in darkness. The French Quarter, ringing and bustling with music and laughter, fell eerily silent. Jazz clubs closed early and the streets emptied as soon as the sun set. The Axeman's presence cast a long shadow over New Orleans, changing the very fabric of the city. No one knew when or where the Axeman would strike next. The randomness of his attacks made it impossible to predict his next move. People lived in constant fear, always looking over their shoulders. The uncertainty was paralyzing, and the community felt helpless against this unseen menace. The Axeman's reign of terror began in the spring of 1918. Newspapers reported of gruesome details and headlines screaming of the latest atrocities. The media coverage only added to the hysteria as each new report brought fresh waves of fear. The killer seemed unstoppable, and the city braced itself for each new attack. His victims were seemingly chosen at random from different neighborhoods and walks of life. The Axeman did not discriminate. His victims included men, women, and children. This randomness made everyone a potential target, and no one felt safe. The diversity of the victims only deepened the mystery and the fear. The brutality of the attack shocked the city. The crime scenes were horrific, with blood-stained walls and broken doors bearing the marks of the killer's axe. The sheer savagery of the murders left the community in a state of shock and disbelief. People couldn't comprehend the level of violence that had invaded their lives. The police were left baffled, struggling to find a motive or any pattern to the killings. Detectives worked tirelessly, examining every clue and following every lead, but the Axeman remained elusive. The lack of evidence and the randomness of the attacks made it nearly impossible to catch the killer. The frustration among law enforcement was palpable as they faced mounting pressure from a terrified public. The Axeman's modus operandi was as terrifying as it was unusual. He would often enter homes through unlocked doors or windows, catching his victims in their sleep. The attacks were swift and brutal, characterized by forceful blows from an axe or hatchet. The victims, often Italian grocers, were left with horrific head wounds. The lack of a clear motive only added to the terror. The randomness of his victims fueled the public's fear, making everyone a potential target. The newspapers were filled with gruesome details, further amplifying the city's paranoia. As the body count rose, fear and suspicion gripped New Orleans. The once vibrant city streets became deserted and dark. People were afraid to be alone in their own homes. The city's once lively nightlife dwindled as residents avoided going out. The police were under immense pressure to catch the killer. Theories abounded, ranging from a deranged individual to a scorned lover seeking revenge. Yet every lead seemed to reach a dead end, deepening the mystery surrounding the Axeman. The lack of progress only fueled the public's anxiety. In March 1919, the city received another jolt. The residents of New Orleans were still reeling from the terror of the Axeman, a mysterious figure who had been terrorizing the city with a series of brutal murders. The fear was palpable, and the city was on edge, with everyone wondering when and where the Axeman would strike next. A chilling letter, purportedly written by the Axeman himself, appeared in the newspapers. This letter was unlike anything the city had seen before. It was filled with ominous threats and strange demands, leaving the citizens both horrified and perplexed. In this eerie letter, the Axeman claimed he was a demon from hell. He described himself as a supernatural being with an insatiable thirst for blood, and he warned that he would continue his killing spree unless his peculiar demand was met. He promised to spare those who played jazz music in their homes. This bizarre request request left the city in a state of confusion. Why jazz music? What was the connection between this genre and the Axeman's bloodlust? The letter offered no explanations, only the chilling ultimatum. The letter, whether a hoax or not, had a profound effect on the city. People were terrified, and the sense of dread was overwhelming. The newspapers were filled with speculation and fear-mongering, adding to the already heightened anxiety. Jazz music, already an integral part of New Orleans culture, took on a new significance. It became a symbol of hope and survival. The city's vibrant jazz scene, which had always been a source of joy and celebration, now carried the weight of life and death. People clung to the hope that this strange request could save them. Families gathered around their gramophones, playing jazz records late into the night. Musicians were in high demand, and the sound of jazz filled the air, creating an eerie yet comforting atmosphere. Jazz bands were hired to play in homes, and the city's music halls were packed. The fear of the Axeman's wrath drove people to seek solace in the music, and for a time the city was united in its efforts to ward off the terror through the power of jazz. Section 5: Jazz and the Killer's Motive. The connection between the Axeman and jazz music remains one of the most intriguing aspects of the case. The Axeman of New Orleans, an unidentified serial killer active in the early 20th century, left a trail of fear and mystery. His crimes were brutal, but what set him apart was his peculiar relationship with jazz music. This connection was not just a passing interest. It was a defining characteristic of his reign of terror. Was the killer a true aficionado of jazz, finding some perverse pleasure in sparing those who shared his passion? The idea that the Axeman might have been a genuine lover of jazz adds a chilling layer to his persona. Imagine a killer who, amidst his violent spree, found solace in the soulful melodies of jazz. It's a haunting thought, one that paints the Axeman as a complex figure, driven by both dark impulses and a deep appreciation for music. Or was it a cruel manipulation, a way to taunt the city and revel in the chaos he had created? The alternative is equally disturbing. If the Axeman used jazz as a tool of psychological warfare, it shows a mind that was not only violent but also cunning and sadistic. By linking his crimes to the music that was the heartbeat of New Orleans, he ensured that his terror would resonate deeply within the community. The letter, with its focus on jazz, added a surreal and unsettling layer to the Axeman's crimes. In one of his infamous letters, the Axeman declared that he would spare anyone who played jazz music in their homes on a particular night. This bizarre demand turned the city into a symphony of survival, with jazz echoing through the streets as people tried to protect themselves from his wrath. It suggested a mind fascinated by the city's musical soul, yet twisted enough to use it as a tool of terror. The Axeman's letter not only highlighted his obsession with jazz, but also his understanding of its cultural significance. By exploiting this, he managed to instill a unique form of fear, one that was intertwined with the very identity of New Orleans. The question of whether the Axeman was a music lover or a manipulator remains a subject of debate even today. Scholars, historians, and true crime enthusiasts continue to ponder over the Axeman's true motives. Was he a deranged fan of jazz, or a cold-blooded killer using the music to amplify his terror? The mystery endures, much like the haunting notes of a jazz tune that lingers long after the music has stopped. For several months following the letter, New Orleans enjoyed an uneasy calm. The Axeman seemed to have vanished. Then, in August 1919, he struck again. This time, the victim was a young woman named Mary Portman. The brutality of the attack mirrored the Axeman's previous crimes. The city once again plunged into terror. It was a stark reminder that the nightmare was not over. The killer they thought had vanished had returned, shattering any hope that the city had found peace. Despite an intensive investigation, the Axeman was never caught. Police followed countless leads, but each one led to a dead end. The lack of modern forensic techniques hampered their efforts. The city was left with more questions than answers. The case gradually faded from the headlines. The Axeman, as suddenly as he had appeared, vanished into the annals of unsolved mysteries. Theories about his identity continue to circulate, but the truth remains elusive. The lack of closure only added to the legend of the Axeman. Although the Axeman's reign of terror ended as abruptly as it began, his impact on New Orleans was profound. The city had faced a darkness it had never known before. The fear lingered, a stark reminder of the killer who was never brought to justice. The Axeman story became ingrained in the city's folklore. He became a cautionary tale, whispered from generation to generation. The legend of the Axeman serves as a chilling reminder of the vulnerability of civilization and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of any city. The Axeman of New Orleans remains an enigma, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can grip the city. The murders, the vote, the connection to jazz all contribute to a mystery that continues to fascinate and horrify. The Axeman story serves as a haunting reminder of the power of fear and the enduring nature of unsolved mysteries. The case, though shrouded in the mists of time, continues to capture the imagination, prompting speculation and debate even today. The Axeman, forever a ghost in the shadows, has become an indelible part of New Orleans' dark history.